Okay, so someone did ask how to read the ball. It's not that bad to read. Let's just so we could see by the orientation of the numbers, we have some roll. Let's actually just get us to an attitude hold situation. We have some roll, some pitch, and some yaw. It's just three different things. All this ball is just three different things. So roll is, and I'll be a little. I will not be sparing the fuel since this is just an explanation. I'll revert to save. But here is what roll looks like. And we can see that this sort of black needle on the bottom is also spinning around in the circle. It is telling us what our present roll attitude is. So it goes from the top is 0, left is 90, bottom is 180, right is 270, and then the top is 360. So this is what rolling looks like. We will roll back to 0. And stabilize. Now let's show off a little bit of yaw. Or let's do pitch instead. So here's what pitch looks like. We could see when we pitch, we do get a slight bit of a yaw motion there. And we can cancel that out if we so desire, like so. But this is what pitch looks like. And we can see every tick going by is 1 degree. Every 5 ticks has a medium line. Every 10 ticks has a large line. Every 15 ticks will be next to a vertical dash. And every 30 ticks will be a bold line, or this transition between black and white. The first 180 degrees will be on white. The next 180 degrees to 360 will be in black. Now let's cover the yaw. Yaw looks like this. So at yaw 0, we have this big vertical bold line. To the left of yaw 0, we will have our minus degrees. It is to the left. We are currently yawing right, but because we're upside down, it's actually to the left. Little confuzzle there, but that's fine. Same rules apply here. Small dashes is 1 degree, 5 is middle, and large is 10. Every 15 degrees will be here in this segment, next to the dashes. The plus represents the cross between 15 on pitch and 15 on yaw. So these numbers here are not to be confused with the yaw numbers. These numbers along the dashes are pitch numbers. So this is, we're yawing along 210 degrees of pitch. So we'll maintain on around 210 because the ball is not 100% perfect. That is the angular distance between two of these changes, so we will not perfectly stay on 210 yaw the whole time, or 210 pitch, that is. And now we are passing the 330 degree yaw. That's this bold line. Remember, every 30 degrees we'll have a bold line. Here we could see that's 5 degrees. Here's 10 degrees. And then this coming up next to the dashes will be 15 degrees. Same with pitch. This dash represents 5 degrees, 10 degrees, 15 degrees of pitch. Here's 5, 10, 5, 10, 15 of yaw. Another 15 makes 30, and we get the 300. Notice the red circle on both sides of the gimbal. There is this red circle. When you approach the red circle, you're going to get a gimbal lock notification on the computer. This means that you are approaching the dead band where all 3 of the concentric rings in the gyro are in the same position, which means we'll no longer have our attitude. So if you see gimbal lock light plus no attitude, then you've entered gimbal lock. If you just see the gimbal lock light, it's just a little warning telling you, hey, just sort of move away from the red and you'll be fine. Another way to tell your attitude on the CMC is verb 16, now 20. This doesn't work in the LEM because the LEM has some other funny business going on with the ICDU, but by that point in time of you flying the LEM, you'll be experienced enough to read the ball and know those differences anyways. So it's not something that we'll probably cover unless someone really, really asks for it. But this is why verb 16, noun 20, and a verb 49 for the auto maneuver just sometimes puts it in a really funny position in the LEM. It's just how it is. It's a fact of the universe. So we'll come back to yaw 0, and we will stabilize by going rate command. Slows down our yaw down to 1 degree, or 0.1 degrees per second. And once we cross, we will stabilize down to 0. Here it is, coming into 0 yaw now. You can see it's increasing up to 0 and stabilize. So here's our final position, and you can check it on the ball, and it checks out. 180 degrees roll, 210 pitch, and 0 yaw. So on the other side, we'll have increasing yaw, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, all the way to 90. And at 90, you get that red circle. So that red circle's on both sides. So now we can get this show on the road here with a little bit of learning how to plan your own burns. So we'll pull up a flight plan. We're coming up. Let's pull this. Do a little bit of this. And pull up the flight plan. We're not going to track the S4B because it's dark and we won't be able to see the maneuver or the lock stop. So no need to waste the fuel doing that, especially because this is my first time flying this sort of mission. So this is Apollo 2. This is a mission that would have happened had the Apollo 1 fire not happened, and B, the LEM being ready before the Saturn V. Both of those things, or the LEM being ready before the Saturn V, of course, did not happen, and the Apollo 1 fire did happen, so that sort of ruled out an Apollo 2 mission. But we're flying it anyways because it is a dual rocket launch, and that sounds fun because the last time they did that was in Gemini. So now we'll just sort of go over basic maneuver planning with the RTCC, and this is mostly for my reference so that I can look back and remember how to do it, but I figured that you guys would also benefit from learning how to use the real-time computer complex tools that the Apollo program has. So we'll bring ourselves pretty close to that 4 hours 10-minute mark. I think we'll bring us down up to 3 hours and 50 minutes here, and that should give us around 20 minutes of explaining. I don't think we'll hit that amount of time, and I'm not going to save this at all, so it doesn't matter really when we do it. But the closer we are to when we need the uplink, the more accurate it is, I would imagine. So to figure out a burn, first you need to know three things. The type of burn, the time, and what orbit you want to be in afterwards. And that third thing may change depending on what type of maneuver you're doing. We're not doing any of these, so let's do a general purpose maneuver. Here is the sort of asterisk which we can use to move around, select different data entry points. First thing we need to do is set this from plane change to input maneuver, and the point of ignition will be at time, and let's set the ground elapsed time for this maneuver 5 hours 16 minutes 00 seconds, because tab to the inputs guide, that's what the custom flight plan has for us. We can move the asterisk to select the delta V, and sort of the delta V we want to contribute is 300 feet per second. P will be 0 degrees, and yaw, it's probably maybe not yaw, but Y, it is yaw, says to start at 90.2, and we can calculate. Now the flight plan wants us to have an average altitude of 105 degrees. So I already know what that is. That's going to be 89.65 degrees of yaw. Will get us the desired average altitude. And to take that, you're just going to take this HA, which is 106.9. You'll add it to HP down here, which is 103.1, and then divide by 2, and you'll get 105. Now, we can hit the ENG button over here. This is going to be an SPS burn. Let's do this UDT button, and we'll do 18 seconds of ullage and UTH on 2 thrusters, optimum TIG, and make sure that you iterate. And now we can press calculate. And this will give us our actual time of ignition with our delta V's. We can come back here and hit calculate in this window as well. Just make sure everything's filled in. The next thing that we can do is go to utility, and the uplink tells us we need a preferred, or not the uplink, the flight plan tells us we need a refsmat uplink, which means that it's going to be a preferred attitude. So let's go to refsmat, and we can see our current refsmat is the launch. We need to change this option, and depending on what you pick, we'll have different targets, different options for you to choose from. We are going to pick a P30, external delta V is P30, and we know that we need to be heads down for the burn. And the reason we know this is because we need to face the stars for star check. So we'll always be head down, and now calculate. And here is our updated refsmat. And that we will uplink later, and that will move this ball so that 000 is our burn attitude. Let's come back here and make sure that I do have everything set, and that it is, we don't need to do any sort of heads down or anything in that window, and that is good. Now, the next thing we'll need to set up is getting the preliminary advisory data. We'll go to maneuver pad, we're burning in the CSM, the SPS, we're going to be heads down, so the window faces down, and the optics faces up, so we can see the stars. We can see it automatically imported, 2 quads, 18 seconds. We could just hit calculate, and here is all of the data for the burn. Note HA and HP calculations are not as good as the maneuver ones, so if it doesn't average to 105, it is okay here, but it does need to average to 105, at least for this specific burn we're planning, in the other window. But we can see here is our uplink, or not our uplink, here's our preliminary advisory data, and we would take a picture of this for our own reference. Notice 0 roll, 0 pitch, 0 yaw, so we'll take a preferred attitude. For that, we'll need to do a P52 later. The next and last things that we're going to want to do is get our uplinks to the computer. So if we open the SPS1, we can see it was copy the maneuver pad first. Then we need to do a state vector update. So let's flip uplink telemetry to accept. ECM bit rate to high. Technically not required, but the checklist tells us to do so on the uplink checklist, so we'll do it. We'll select 0, 0, and this we may need to, text is a little small here, so let's get this a little bigger. CMC is the destination, and we're getting a CSM navigation update. Display 0, 0, enter. Present time, and the target vehicle is going to be Gumdrop. This is sort of where we want to, which vehicle we want, or which sector of the AGC we want to put the state vector in. So we can actually put a CSM state vector in the LEM state vector slot. This is a thing you can do. Why? I'm not sure, but you can do it. So just make sure you're uplinking the CSM update to the CSM slot, which is named Gumdrop for this mission. Now we can calculate. Here's the data that we have. And now we can press uplink and it goes straight to the computer. We'll watch it, make sure that these numbers that we get are corresponding, because I have a little bit of trust issues with the uplink for a reason we'll cover once this is done. And see, this is going to key automatically. I still trust it for the most part, but there is one thing that my install does, which is funny. That is, you get to here and it stops. It's supposed to key enter, but it doesn't. If that happens for you, I've been told enter works. One person, and I've been told that you have to do it again by another person. But for me, when I do these uplinks, unless it's a refs map update, 100% of the time, it freezes on verb 33. But you saw this bottom number increment, you saw all the numbers get entered according to this thing, so we know that it is correct, and we can just hit enter. Now the checklist tells us to call verb 66, enter. We're getting an error for the MFD for what reason? Maybe because the thing is really huge now. But just ignore that error. Only sized it this big, or you guys can see it. Now we need to do, next up in line is target load. So that's going to be external delta V. CMC external delta V is display 10. This we could see, calculate. And for this, since it's a smaller uplink, I'll show you how you can manually uplink if you really have trust issues. Verb 71, enter. And now you just enter these numbers in from top to bottom. So the first one we enter is the index, or the address, which we will put all of these in. Now we need to put in our add data. 03404. enter. We'll hit our VGX data, which is 0. Another row of VGX, which is 26701. Enter. VGY, which is 00165. Another VGY, which is 01252. Enter. VGZ. So this is all one number, but sort of it takes two indexes in the array to sort of fill in. Because it's got decimals of relatively high accuracy is what I believe why, but I'm not exactly sure why X, Y, and Z have two slots, because it only has one decimal point. The time of ignition taking two rows is completely reasonable to me, though. So 00163, and then 25530. And when you're done with that type of uplink, or rather manually keying in the update into the memory, you get 330. When this shows, you're able to do verb 33, hit enter, and that's it. Now the last uplink we'll need to do is a refsmat uplink, which is one of the biggest ones, so we'll just hit calculate on that. Desired refsmat, because we would like to change ours. Actual refsmat is hardly ever used, but is covered in lem activation. So we'll calculate that, and we will uplink. And that's it. And again, we can see it is on verb 33 again. Just hit enter. And that's A-OK. Uplink telemetry command to block. Verb 37, enter. 00, enter. And then just to show you, let's go CMC free. Just to show you that we did indeed get the proper refsmat. See, we've got our desired attitude, which the burn will take place from. So that is when we move to 000 on the ball, that is where the burn will happen. So that's sort of all I got, and hopefully next time I play this error doesn't come up again, but I've got a feeling it's because of something I did here with the resizing and the moving through menus really haphazardly, which you wouldn't sort of do normally, but for the sake of the tutorial I had to. So, hope that helps.